to order. Roll call, please.
Ready yet?
Commissioner Collins,
Here.
Commissioner Cross,
Here.
Commissioner Darasinski,
Here.
Commissioner Engel,
Here.
Commissioner Jagger,
Here.
Commissioner Longmire,
Present.
Commissioner Mahoney,
Here.
Commissioner Plummer,
Here.
Commissioner Skolnick,
Here.
Commissioner Wilkins,
Here.
Commissioner Snyder.
Here. First item on the agenda is approval of the minutes of the meeting of September 4, 2012.
So moved. Second.
I hope you got that, Lisa.
I did.
Okay, thank you. Are there any corrections or additions? Seeing none, all those in favor say yes.
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 Those opposed say no. Motion passes. This is the time set aside for comment on an agenda item. Does anyone in the audience have a desire to comment on an agenda item? Seeing none, we'll move on to items for consideration. CPS 12/10-50 from the Circuit Court to authorize the Circuit Court to enter into contracts with public defenders.
So moved. Second.
Is there any discussion? Mr. Jagger?
Yeah, is there any cost, we're not adding any lawyers or anything to any of this?
No, there is an increase for, and in circuit court, there's an increase for the juvenile neglect and abuse public defenders. And that increase is based on the most recent increases that county employees have received. There has not been an increase for the public defenders in, I don't know how long, but I just took the numbers since I've been here and the increase in wages for county employees. That came to about $2,500 for each public defender. And for circuit court, I want to be clear, it's for the public defenders that serve juvenile neglect and abuse litigants. There are other circuit court public defenders that did not see an increase.
Anything else?
I just wanted to point out that these are a one-year contract based on not knowing, I suppose, what the state of Michigan is going to do with public defenders' rules and so forth.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Anything further? Mr. Skolnick?
There are two, maybe there are two Joe Fishers.
No.
No.
Mr. Stevens, will you address that?
Thank you, Eric Stevens, Circuit Court Administrator.
I know I'd like to be two people at some times.
Funny you should ask because my phone rang last week and Heath was asking the same questions. So, Joe Fisher actually has two contracts. He is the attorney appointed to represent indigent defendants at Judge Marietti's court. That's for $65,000, and he also has a contract to handle the preliminary hearing / arraignments, transfer from district court up to circuit court in the amount of $45,000. So that's why his name appears twice. It's the same individual.
Just checking.
Anything further? Seeing nothing, all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Those opposed say no. The motion passes. Next item is CPS 12/10-52 from the district court to authorize the district court to enter into contracts with public defenders.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
All those opposed say no. The motion passes. I skipped 51? I'm sorry. Let me back up. Well, if we could leave it at 12/10-52 as having been approved, I'll back up and pick up for CPS 12/10-51 from the Circuit Court Family Division to approve the fiscal year 2013 Child Care Fund Annual Plan and Budget.
So moved. Second.
Is there any discussion? Mr. Darasinski.
If I may, on your budget report, I think it's page
10, 11,266,425.25, and it has the cost-sharing ratios. And basically, cost-sharing ratios, county 50%, state 50%. My first question is, wow, in the last 5 years, our dollars put into that is hugely grown. And
Eric Stevens, the Circuit Court Administrator. You are correct, but what I would like to remind the board of the fact that the Child Care Fund state plan budget is really us asking for, not even permission, but indicating to the state that we intend to fund these programs. Historically, these numbers are larger than what this board has funded for the family court to spend. That allows us to have some flexibility in our programming. As you can see in my motion, that the Child Care Fund annual plan and budget does not commit the county of Muskegon to spend beyond its approved annual budget for this year, even though the plan is a lot higher than what this board's approved. In regards to the escalating costs, though, I'd like to, I don't know what page it is, but in the in-home care component, really what the in-home care component of the Child Care Fund is what community-based services that we've provided to keep kids from going to residential or reducing those days of care in residential. Again, I don't know, it's my program description, it's way towards the back, I'm not helping you much, but
It's roughly 40 if I,
it's almost all the way towards the back. What we did last year is we changed our focus. There's really two things that I put into this Child Care Fund annual plan and budget that I wanted to achieve. I wanted to achieve a reduction in the number of kids going to residential treatment because it costs a lot of money. Those kids that did have to go to residential treatment, the second goal I wanted to measure was the kids that actually had to go to residential, we reduced the days of care. Not this past year, but the year before, we sent 89 kids to residential treatment. Last year, based on our community efforts, our relationship with Community Mental Health, Department of Human Services, we reduced the number of kids from 89 kids that went to residential down to 63. We've also, the second goal was to focus on the number of children that, once they were in residence, reduce the days of care. The prior year, in FY 2011, we had 16,702 days of residential care. Last year, because of our efforts with mental health, with DHS, partnering with other community agencies, we reduced the number of days of residential care down to 10,425. Okay. That resulted in our efforts just in about a reduction of $1 million in our residential child care fund expense. That's roughly about $500,000 in county money. So even though our child care fund annual plan and budget seems to be going up every year, our plan to the state, our actual results because of that programming we put in the annual plan and budget has actually reduced or shown a decrease this past year in the efforts we've made to keep kids, one, in our community and provide them services, and two, if they have to leave, to bring them home sooner. So, like I said, this is just a plan to the state in regards to these are programs that we want to try to reduce both kids going in as well as days of care. And it's,
in short, to the budget that we're going to shortly adopt, you have a limit on that, and if it's going to change, this board will have to
that's correct. And
approve that. Is that, am I hearing that?
yes, and I believe the budget you approved, I think, is status quo from last year. There wasn't any request for an
Different than
increase.
these numbers.
Yeah, it's a lot different than these numbers,
Okay,
yes.
that was,
One of the reasons we do this is because if If we put it right at our budget numbers and say something happened, we had to come back to request from this board additional funds,
State.
we'd have to go to the state and amend this, and trying to get them to move fast sometimes is difficult. So
Thank
this
you.
allows us some flexibility. So this is always, you will see from year to year, a lot higher than what was budgeted. But yes, if we spend more than what you've approved, I'll have to come back here, so.
Thank you. And my other was the cost ratio on page, I think it's 10, and it's on your DS 2914, 9 or 10. Child care fund, use cost sharing, county 50%, state 50%. Then it go to the two. The one is, it says county 0%, state 100%, 15,000 maximum. I'm not sure what that other cost sharing ratio is, and it's the very bottom page there, just above the total expenditures at 15,000 cost sharing.
Justice.
I don't know if you see what I'm looking at.
Yeah, I see what you're looking at.
Yeah, and 0 for us is 15,000, I guess, that number jumped at me. I like to read these.
Yeah, no, it's my understanding with the child care fund that any program that's eligible, which is laid out in this plan, is a 50% match.
And that's child care.
That's the child care fund, the overall budget.
Okay, I see. the
I honestly don't know what the 0% to the county, 100% to the state with 15,000 maximum is.
Yeah, okay,
I can find out for you.
We'll find out.
okay, sorry, I wasn't, that question.
One of the things we did, may make another quick comment, is our, last year we really tried to maximize funding by tapping into 4E dollars, which means that a lot of our kids are eligible when they're placed in residential. If they're 4E eligible, we looked into that, we made sure before we placed any child, we asked the state to determine if they were 4E eligible. The reason that's important is that because if a child is deemed to be 4E eligible, then it's a 50% federal, 50% state match. It doesn't cost the county anything. And we had probably 6 to 8 kids last year that we requested they identify. They did find that they were 4E eligible, and those kids were then placed in residential treatment because they needed it, but it was at no cost to the county. So that helped us achieve those savings. So not only using the child care fund, maximizing community-based programs, we've also tried to tap into that federal 4E funding stream too to minimize the expensive cost of residential. So
Eric, are the children that have to be in this program still getting the help they need?
they are.
I mean, you're
Yeah, that's our.
comfortable, I mean, we're cutting time short. Are we shortchanging ourselves in the long run, maybe?
No, what I've been doing this for almost.
I'm not being critical.
Yeah,
let's
no, I know
jump
you're not,
right
Commissioner.
at it.
No, and it's a very good question to ask. Our main goal is to serve the kids and families in this county. Our preference is to do it here within this county, because I found after doing this for 20 years that kids, if they can remain home, are much better off. If they can't, then what we do is we look to find the best place for them to be, regardless of the expense, regardless of, you know, where the funding comes from. That's never in control how we serve kids and families.
That was my real question.
We're always looking out for the best interest and the best service. And what we do, we're fine with residential though. Sometimes residential, they're out to make a buck. They're private agencies. And so it's in their best interest to keep kids longer, there longer than they may need. So we're really trying to reduce those days of care, not to deny the kids the treatment, but also to get them the treatment and then continue those services back within their home. Because that's the best thing for them. As soon as we can get them home, the better off the kids are. Everyone is.
Some of these are out of state.
That's correct.
And I just wonder how many people we have out of county, how many do we have out of state in a year's time? I know you can't give me that number, but.
I have a pretty good understanding of it, and we probably have the most kids out of state are at Boys Town, Omaha, Nebraska. Many of those children they don't have homes to come back to here in Muskegon. Many of them are 15, 16-year-olds, and they can't come back to the home because of possibly neglect or abuse. It's just not a very good place for them to be. They go out to Boys Town at a rate of $100 a day. That's really cheap. The average residential cost in-state is $240 a day. Not only is it cheaper, but the outcomes that Boys Town has is amazing. For example, this past May, we had 3 children graduate from Boys Town, the high school program out there. One of them has a full ride to Michigan State, is there this fall. Another one has a full ride to the University of Nebraska in Omaha. Third one came back home here. So there's 3 kids, and I'm willing to bet, you know, as much as you would want, that if they had remained in this community, living in the homes that they were in, that they would be in our jail, headed to prison. So, you know, it seems like, why are we sending kids out of state? It's because the Boys Town, there's nothing like in the state of Michigan, and they provide opportunities for these kids. Hopefully, all 3 of them will come back to Muskegon eventually, be productive citizens, and break that cycle that we see so often in these kids' lives. So that's just one example of the benefits and the outcomes that we've seen.
Are you?
Yeah, I just didn't want to
No, go
belabor
ahead.
that point, but I think it's something I appreciate what you're doing.
Mr. Skolnick?
You ever refer anybody to Teen Challenge?
We do not. It's my understanding, and this is reaching back a little bit, Commissioner, but I think you have to be 18 to be in Teen Challenge. And most of our kids leave our system by the time they turn 18. We do, so the simple answer to your question, no, just because they're too old.
Anyone else with any comments? I'd just like to make a comment because this really is a cooperative effort. And while the family division actually operates this represents a combined effort of CMH, the juvenile division of the probate court, DHS, and a number of other agencies, including the Juvenile Transition Center. It's been a long time getting these people and these groups to cooperate, and they have been cooperating for the last 3 or 4 years. And the result has been that we're getting the costs under control again, and I think it's to the credit of everybody involved with children in this county that the end result is it's going to serve the children better. And it also serves the county taxpayers better by reducing the tax burden. So it's been a cooperative effort, and I think everybody needs to understand that it is a cooperative effort, and I think Eric would confirm that. So thank you. Now I think I'm back on track, so all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Those opposed say no. Thank you. The next item is CPS 12/10-53 from the Sheriff's Office to approve the acceptance of the project.
Second.
Who made the motion? Oh, Mr. Engel and Mr. Cross. Thank you. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Those opposed say no. Motion passes. Next item is CPS 12/10-54 from the administration to authorize the
So
staff.
moved. Second.
Okay, just reverse, Cross and Engel.
54?
Yes.
That's the vote.
That's
a vote edition.
Did I skip another one?
No, you're fine.
No, computer couldn't keep up. No, I think my finger doesn't work all the time.
I won't comment. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, I did have some questions on this one. Now, this is the Homeland Security piece of that. And this is that biggie, right?
Hansdale Sheriff's Department, yes, it is a port security grant, not a Homeland Security grant, but a port security grant.
Okay, So we're talking about the same one that you were here with, or Todd was here with. This is one and the same. We're just going out for bids for it now.
That is correct.
Okay, okay. Wow, that's impressive. I see a new vehicle, in that boat department. Actually, I saw it today, passed at me on Apple Avenue. When did we approve that?
I'll defer to that.
I'm sorry, I have a thing for boats.
Todd Dillon, Muskegon County Sheriff's Department, Marine Division.
The vehicle pulling that boat I've never seen before.
The vehicle that Commissioner Derazinski is talking about, it's a dive vehicle that we obtained back in the early or late winter. That project started. We started working on that project back then. What that is actually it's a ProMed ambulance that was donated, and all the work was donated to it, and the lettering itself was donated from Source One. So it's been a whole donated project.
And all your dive equipment's in there?
Yes, what that is in the past we've had recoveries, drown recoveries in the winter, and we just had a trailer down, and it's just to keep going in and out of the water. We just couldn't keep the guys warm and to brief, a place to brief in. And
You have air equipment in there?
yes,
Compressors?
there's a cascade. There's 5 tanks that'll supply us for roughly 15 hours under the water. We just keep refilling the dive tanks as they're from the cascade on that truck.
That's impressive too. Now, this other boat, go back to the one we're purchasing, this Seawolf trailer.
Yeah, actually, yes, it will be trailered. That's not much bigger than the one you've seen today.
Is that right?
Yes.
Wow. Yeah, it's 26 foot. Pole skiers?
It should.
Thanks, Todd. I just hadn't seen that vehicle.
Do you have any other questions, Mr. Derazinski?
No.
Thank you very much.
That was a good point.
Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Those opposed say no. The motion passes. CBS 12/10-55 from the District Court to accept
Thank you.
Mr. Collins and Mr. Mahoney. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Those opposed say no. Motion passes. Is there any old business? Any old business, any new business? Mr. Jager?
I'd like to go back to 52 for a minute. Yeah, I did have questions, but
Okay, sure.
so that'd be fine. On the 4 people that got raised, they were the ones here? that-
Yes, they,
So you got away a lot cheaper than the 80,000 we wanted each.
it would appear.
And now, is Mandy just working only 1 more month for us, or is she, because if you read page 49, it says that she's gonna be here for, we're really signing her in for a year contract too, so.
District Court Administrator Nancy Henner. Yes, Manimich here is actually a PD we have on contract right now, we've had for the previous year. To make a smooth transition, because we're so close to the end of the fiscal year, actually, this coming year, of course, subsequent to the beginning of the fiscal year, she agreed to stay on to 1 month, and then Ben Medina is going to pick it up for the rest of the 11 months. So although the contract, the dates of those contracts, Amanda's is for 1 month and Ben's is for 11 months. So it's one contract split.
Thank you.
Anything further? Now's the time set aside for public comment on a new topic, for anyone who wishes to comment on a new topic.
Did you announce new business? Or did I miss?
Yes, I thought,
Oh, I'm sorry. I had one.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Not too late?
All right. Yesterday at the Airport Advisory Committee meeting, we were advised that there is a nonstop charter from Muskegon to Laughlin, Nevada, and it's very reasonable, and it's going to leave January 10th, 2/13, and return on Sunday, January 13th. Let's see. January 10th, and it'll return on January 13th. And the cost is only $279, so that's a good time to get your Valentine's gift in. So if anyone is interested, you can just call any travel agency and book this flight.
Anything else? Seeing nothing with that, we'll adjourn.
This is,